Welcome to Green TV, the show dedicated to positive Green New Deal solutions and the candidates that advocate for them. I'm Gail Parker, your host for today. Green TV is about Green New Deal, eco-jobs for the economy, positive solutions. It's about eco-capitalism. Prices must tell the environmental truth. It's about the green industrial revolution, solar jobs, wind jobs, geothermal jobs, rail jobs, weatherization jobs, conservation jobs, efficiency jobs. It's about building green neighborhoods. Excuse me. It's about building walkable, bikeable, pedestrian, and rail-friendly communities, having cleaner air and cleaner water. It's about cutting taxpayer subsidies to zero for big oil, big auto, and big asphalt. Rail built anywhere in America benefits all of America. Renewable energy is free energy, clean energy. On today's show, we are focusing on ballot access, what ballot access is, why it is important, and what is being done to ensure American citizens have access to the ballot across the nation. But first, this short message from a local candidate that is on the ballot for the Arlington County Board for the November election.
I'm Audrey Clements, the independent candidate for Arlington County Board. As a 13-year Westover resident and civic activist with a PhD in political science and service as a congressional fellow, I'm running for County Board because Arlington faces several crises that County Board has failed to address. Among them, overcrowded schools, loss of green space, and an office vacancy rate double the historic average. If elected, I pledge to emphasize basic services like streets, schools, libraries, and public safety, seek tax relief for residences and businesses, and stop the exodus of federal agencies from Arlington. Promote consolidation of housing programs to improve efficiency. Promote installation of efficient renewable energy in all public schools, and provide a voice on County Board for all taxpayers. If you share my agenda, then spread the word about my candidacy. Donate to my campaign. Together we can make the Arlington way more than an empty phrase. I'm Audrey Clements, and I authorized and paid for this message.
And now this on ballot access.
Hi, I'm out collecting signatures and I really need yours. And 60,000 of your friends. Wait, do you have any idea how hard it is to collect all of these signatures? Let me explain. Georgia voters deserve better choices, more choices. Our red state, blue state politics don't cut it anymore. It's a national problem, as this horrible election season proves. More people than ever before complain they don't like either of the presidential candidates, claiming there's no good choice. Let's talk about how to fix that. Here in Georgia, the problem isn't a lack of political talent or ideas. I blame the political elites for suppressing the message of additional opponents and ensuring they never reach the ballot. That's right, the very people who stand to lose the most from better, more qualified candidates are making sure you never see their names. I know, you're as shocked as I am. It's so bad that Georgia's long been ranked 50th in the nation for ballot access laws. Today, Georgia requires roughly 22,000 signatures of registered voters for an independent candidate just to place their name on the ballot for a U.S. congressional race, and roughly 60,000 signatures for a statewide race. It's so bad that no third-party candidate has been on a general election congressional ticket since 1943. That's 73 years ago. Because of these restricted ballot access laws, many races for the Georgia legislature only have one candidate. Time and again, members of the legislature have introduced bills to try to ease access to the ballot. State Representative John Peasold tried in 2015 to reduce the number of required signatures, but never even got a committee hearing. Now, State Senator Josh McCoon is trying to eliminate the need for signatures altogether. More than a decade ago, before he was even Speaker, David Ralston introduced similar legislation that went nowhere. Even Secretary of State Brian Kemp took a weak swing and missed. The result? For more than 25 years, Georgia has allowed no more than 2 candidates on its ballot. And that means people who don't align with the Republican or Democrat parties don't have a seat at the table. Even worse, you have dozens of candidates who run under one of the two parties but have very little in common with their platform. They simply use the name because it's the easy way. Earlier this year, a federal judge ruled that the Georgia law requiring presidential candidates who aren't Republicans or Democrats to collect signatures to be placed on the ballot is unconstitutional. But state law still hasn't changed. Wouldn't you prefer a laundry list of choices when you go into the voting booth? Wouldn't you at least like to know that elected officials aren't keeping others out of the process? Secretary of State Brian Kemp needs to support real ballot access reform and stand up to the legislature. If you want more choices, he needs to hear from you. Here's his phone number, and here's his Facebook. He can force our legislators to address the fact that we're serious about wanting more than two choices. We say we want quality people who represent our values and are willing to serve, but that might mean looking outside the current either-or system. Those people are out there, and we should be able to find them on our ballot. All right, just so we're all on the same page, this segment represents my views and not necessarily those of Fox 5 Atlanta, but we want to know whether it represents your views. So tell us whether you like it or not, and who knows, maybe I'll respond to you on Fox 5.
Hi, welcome to Smarter Campaigns candidate training video blogs. I'm Ben Eisenberg, president of Smarter Campaigns. Today we're going to talk about getting on the ballot. Now, many candidates are unaware of what's actually needed to get on the ballot. They think as soon as they file their paperwork to run, they're on the ballot and everyone in the state can vote for them. In actuality, in order to get on the ballot, requirements vary from state to state. 3 to 5 months before the election, you're usually given between 30 to 60 days to go out and gather signatures to get on the ballot. Now, the number of signatures needed really varies based on what you're running for and where you live. Those signatures must be from registered voters who live in your district and usually of the party that you're running for. Some states allow you to pay people to gather signatures for you, others don't. Now, the amount really varies from place to place. It's staggering how wide. If you're running in Tennessee, you only need 25 votes to be on the ballot as a state representative. But if you were running for state assembly in California, you'd need 6,800 signatures, all registered voters who live in your district. Pennsylvania, it's only 300. Colorado, it's 400. But it's really important to look and figure out exactly how many signatures you need, because that's going to affect your strategy. If you were running in Colorado for United States Senate, you would have to get 1,500 signatures per congressional district. Now, Colorado has 7 congressional districts, so in order to appear on the ballot, you need 10,500 signatures. Petitions begin at the beginning of February and go until the middle of March. As such, candidates have about a 6-week period in order to gather all of those thousands of signatures. However, Colorado allows for paid circulators. You can pay people to go out and gather signatures for you. That makes getting 10,500 signatures less of a monumental task. If you are in a state that allows you to pay for circulators, the going rate is $1 per valid signature. Make sure that you're not paying them just for signatures, because people will go out and make up signatures. You want to get the list back from them, cross-reference all of the signatures with registered voters, and you pay the circulators based on how many valid signatures they have. It'll encourage them to do better work and save you money. So each state writes its own ballot access laws, even for federal races. Some are written to make it next to impossible for third-party candidates to make it on the ballot, especially if you're in a state that elects their judges from one of the two major parties, because then they have an interest in making sure that third parties can't get on the ballot. So really, it's up to you to do the research and figure out what you need to do to get on the ballot. If you're running for a federal office, Firedog Lake is a great resource detailing the ballot requirements state by state. Sure, they're a little bit to the left, but it's great information. So if you just go online and Google Firedog Lake ballot access by state, it's the first thing that comes up. It'll detail every single state, how many signatures you need. If you're a state candidate, go to your Secretary of State's elections page and they'll detail what you have to do to get on the ballot, because once again, each state is different, and it's really up to you to do the research. If you're running for local or municipal office, a lot of times it's harder to find that information. They may not have it readily online, but every single municipality has a director of elections. And if you call, they're usually very happy to talk to you because no one calls their office. They're elated that they get to talk to someone, and they'll tell you exactly what you need to do to get on the ballot, how many signatures for city council or mayor or coroner, and what other requirements there are. Hopefully, you'll be able to get on the ballot. Have a great day. Thank you for watching Smarter Campaigns Candidate Training video blog. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter.
You are watching Green TV, the show dedicated to positive Green New Deal solutions and the candidates that advocate for them. Today we are featuring Ballot Access, what Ballot Access is, why it is important, and what is being done to ensure that American citizens have access to the ballot across the nation. I hope you enjoy it.
When Oklahomans elect the next legislature in 2016, the choices may include more than the traditional Republican and Democratic parties. Two other parties have launched a signature drive to get their nominees on the ballot, aided by a new state law which makes it easier for third parties to be recognized in Oklahoma.
To be recognized under Oklahoma's current law, political parties must gather signatures from registered voters equal to 5% of the votes cast in the last general election for governor or president. State Election Board Secretary Paul Zarek says a new law that takes effect in November reduces that number to 3% in the last gubernatorial election.
The effect of that for the upcoming year is that instead of having around 41,000 signatures being required to form a new political party, it'll be slightly less than 25,000 as of November 1st.
Despite ideological differences, the Libertarian and Green parties are now working together to raise the necessary signatures. The parties filed paperwork with the State Election Board Monday to get their candidates on the ballot. Green Party Representative Micah Gamino calls the change in state law a huge step in the right direction.
And we want to work together to try to capture that momentum and move forward and try to get new parties on the election ballot in Oklahoma so that we can give the voters more choices.
Gamino says voters are currently being denied a choice, with a large number of elected officials getting into office without facing any challengers.
Some of them are elected just by paying a filing fee. Some of them win their party primary and then have no challenger in the general election and go straight into office. With more parties on the ballot, we may be able to put up more challengers in the general election. We believe that that competition is good for democracy.
Zachary Knight is the Libertarian representative to Oklahomans for Ballot Access Reform. Knight says in last year's election, 66 of Oklahoma's 101 House district seats had only one major party candidate on the ballot.
In the House, 13 seats were unopposed 2 elections in a row. 10 went unopposed 3 elections in a row. And 2 went unopposed since 2006. Now, that's 5 elections that they didn't receive a challenge at all.
State Republican Party Chair Randy Brogdon argues that's not necessarily a bad thing.
If you're on the ballot, if you put your name, your neck on the line, and you're the only one that decides to step up and be a challenger, and you have no challengers, you know, that's fine.
That sentiment is echoed by Oklahoma Democratic Party Chair Mark Hammonds.
And if the people in a House district or a Senate district are happy with their House member or Senate member, there's no reason to manufacture a conflict. I mean, there are elected officials who are very popular.
Still, Hammonds and Brogdon insist they're not opposed to seeing more candidates on the ballot.
We welcome a variety of ideas and the benefit that society has by debating ideas. So additional parties provide additional opportunities for the electorate to become engaged and informed, and we're all for that.
I believe that competition breeds success. I, for one, am not afraid to have other competitors in the marketplace of ideas, because I believe that the Republicans have the best ideas when it comes to public policy. And so it doesn't scare me to have other people on the ballot.
Candidates can still get on the ballot without a party affiliation, but have to run as an independent. Knight says that isn't satisfactory because it doesn't tell the voters how the candidate's views differ from those of the Republican or Democratic Party.
When they see independent, they just have no clue what that, other than that person's not affiliated with those two parties. They don't know, they don't have that easy check to see what, what those ideals will be.
The Libertarian and Green parties hope their candidates won't have to run as independents in the 2016 general election. They have until March 1st to gather the number of signatures required to be recognized as political parties in Oklahoma.
The Green Party litigation was important in 2016 election, and here's more on that.
So I've got another ballot access update. Earlier I reported that there had been some road bumps on this ballot access campaign. Jill Stein had been very successful in encouraging and energizing her supporters and volunteers and petitioners to flip approximately, I think they're at 30 states now. And then there's also petitions that are under consideration in approximately 7 states. They've turned in the signatures and the Secretary of State's going over them. And then in at least 3 states, there's litigation going forward. And this is because the threshold was so prohibitively high, signatures, or the deadline was so early, or there were so many signatures invalidated that they're trying to pursue some remedies. And this is in the state of Nevada, Oklahoma, and also Georgia. Blanked out. So Nevada, Oklahoma, Georgia, there's some litigation being considered. And then also that leaves about 7 active petition campaigns ongoing. And these active petition campaigns are going to be in Idaho, Wyoming, North Dakota, Kentucky, Virginia, Delaware, Rhode Island. And so that's 7. There's 7 states left for active petitioning. Other states are under consideration, and then other states, there's litigation occurring. So it's a kind of a shifting paradigm. Every day it looks different. Every day states are flipping, petitions are being turned in, there's litigation happening. So it's an ongoing process that will not settle down until mid-September. And that's when most questions are answered and the ballot access looks like it's kind of solidifying. The last of the petitions are due on September 13th, and that means that there'll be some consideration. And then approximately by mid-September, it'll all, most things will be known about how much ballot access the Green Party campaign is going to have. And then early voting starts in Minnesota. So we're just rolling right along to the general election. This is the home stretch, and Jill Stein is actively campaigning. She's actively seeking out media opportunities and meeting her voters, her base of support. I'm talking to down ballot candidates who are also Greens on the ballot for voting in November. So lots of stuff is happening. Every day it's new and different, and hopefully the right things will continue to happen state by state. Good luck.
I sense that it's going to take a number of further defeats and denial of certiorari by the Supreme Court before they become more and more sensitized to this constitutional right of free speech, which is what running for office is. You speak, you petition, you assemble. It's the most consummate expression of the First Amendment right, and they will judicially defend it with as much vigor as they now destroy it. This will require more competition in our democratic processes. It will require more people to run for office, to challenge these obstructions around the country, and that's the only way they're going to be brought to the surface. It will require more local candidates, state candidates, and national candidates. And in so doing, we will see what we have been missing. Because historically, the great ideas that have animated social justice and driven it to some sort of success in our country have come from third parties. And aren't we glad that ballot access barriers were much lower in the 19th century than they are today, much less obstructive, because that allowed the Liberty Party, the Anti-Slavery Party, the Women's Right to Vote Party, the Labor Party, the Populist Party, the Farmer Party to get on the ballot. And aren't we glad that there were some voters in the 19th century who didn't say, well, we're going to go for the least worst on the issue of slavery between the Whig Party and the Democratic Party, who instead voted for the small party that led the fight, electorally speaking, against slavery? Aren't we glad that there were some voters who didn't try to figure out who the least worst was on the women's right to vote between the Democrats and the Republicans and supported the women's right to vote, or the women's suffrage party? Well, if we like that, then we should like it in the 21st century as well. Thank you very much.
And now, more on ballot access by an elected mayor in South Carolina.
I'm here today to ask you to run for elected office. What? You say you're not a politician? You're just a regular person? Then you're exactly who your community and our country needs. Being in elected office isn't that different from what you do and have experienced in your life. How do I know? Because I ran, and I'm just starting my second full term as mayor of Casey, South Carolina. All the worries, all the skepticism and doubt you feel, I've felt too. Too much of a challenge, you think? Have you ever gone after the same promotion as a colleague? The same client as a competitor? Ever thought differently about the best solution than those around you? Have you ever tried negotiating with the repairman? If you have no challenge in your life, then can we please be friends? But most of us have had to learn how to work well with others. The same skills you use in your daily job, tact, diplomacy, and an interest in working towards a better goal, are things we need more of in elected office. Too much fundraising, you think? Well, if you believe in something, it gets easier to do. Have you ever helped your kids, the baseball team, the neighborhood kids, with selling cookie dough, wrapping paper, Girl Scout cookies, chocolate bars, magazines? Have you ever raised money for a nonprofit? We do it when it matters, and this matters. When I was first elected, I didn't have fancy consultants running my campaign. My campaign was headed up by two other moms like me. Our support staff consisted of 6 kids aged 2 to 5. Us moms would meet at the kitchen table while our support staff would play in the living room. And on occasion, the support staff would jump on the furniture or throw a toy or start fighting. The only mudslinging we had in our campaign actually consisted of real mud. So you're not a poli-sci major or a lawyer. That's not a problem. That's a good thing. We need more diversity in the backgrounds of our elected officials. What you bring to the table is a unique perspective. And the more of those we have, the better solutions we can create, and the more representative of our communities we are. On our Casey Council, we are diverse in age, race, gender, socioeconomic status, and education. We have a nurse, an accountant, a steel worker, a fundraiser who used to be a police chief, and me, a public health university professor. Our strength is in our diversity. We think about things differently, so we're able to be more successful and to come up with more thoughtful, representative solutions. Don't know how to be an elected official, you say? Well, have you always known how to do every aspect of the job you do now? The same conscientiousness you used to learn that, you would use to learn this as well. When I was first elected, I was sworn in 5 days later. I ran my first council meeting that night. I had never, ever used Robert's Rules of Order before. I barely even knew what it was. I wasn't in Key Club or student government in high school. I hadn't been in elected office before. So I spent the 5 days after being elected learning more. Of course, being a great elected official isn't just about Robert's Rules of Order. It's a lot about customer service and even more about advocating for and planning for the future of your community. A typical day for me might include phone calls, emails, meeting with someone who wants to bring business to the city, running our council meeting, and reading the letters from the 3rd grade class who wants us to change the laws to allow chickens in the city, which we did. We all have ideas about what it's like to be in elected office, from movies, from TV, ideas from what real-life politicians are doing in the media. But the reality is, no surprise, by and large, it's not quite like that. Day to day, you get to be just a regular person. You're just trying to solve problems for others, the same way you solve problems at work or at home. Well, that's all good, but there's not enough time, right? Do you volunteer at church? Do you volunteer at your kid's school? Do you serve on a board or foundation? Making those meetings and supporting those commitments are the same as making city council meetings or school board meetings and supporting those commitments. Our KC City Council members all work full-time and give of themselves to make our community better as well. When I was first elected, our son was 4 and our daughter was 3. And I used to cringe that for a while, the only way our daughter would emulate me would be to throw a purse of some sort over her shoulder and say, "Bye, I'm going to a meeting." But now I see that in her eyes, she will never doubt that she can do this or anything else as well. Maybe you're scared of not winning if you run. Have you always gotten every client you ever sought? Every job for which you ever interviewed? Even if you don't win, you can change the dialogue. You can get people talking about the important issues and ethics, and you gain insight into how hard good elected officials work to make a positive difference. If we all run or serve in office at some point, we'll be more likely to support others when they do so. And we'll be better able to understand the issues that are being impacted. And we'll know what ethics looks like, and therefore know how to accept nothing less.
The Green Party is recruiting for candidates. That's it for today's Green TV. I'm Gail Farrell-Parker, your host for today. Remember, renewable energy is free energy, clean energy. Rail is safer and can run on renewable energy. Rail built anywhere in America benefits all of America. Please join us again next time for Green TV and more on Ballot Access.